Hello everyone and welcome to another exciting event coverage by Financial Insight. I am currently at Ciela Resort right here in Lusaka, Zambia, where Financial Insight has partnered with Stanbic Bank Zambia as the official media partner at the 2026 edition of Land-Linked Zambia. Yes, Stanbic yet again is sponsoring this particular event as partner sponsors, and I'll be speaking with a few of the folks at the bank, so stay tuned for this series of interviews. Welcome back. As I mentioned, I'm currently at Ciela, and I'm about to have a very interesting conversation with the first timer on our platform, and his name is Mr. Luthando. Luthando, how are you doing?
Good, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Luthando, this is obviously the first time you've been on the Financial Insight platform. Are you able to just tell us about who you are and what your role is at the bank?
Thank you, brother. My name is Luthando Vuba, and I head up international trade at the Standard Bank Group within our business and commercial banking unit. And what that means is I'm responsible for our trade development, our trade solutions for our clients to help them grow both in market and across different markets. So we help them with market access, which entails access to information and understanding the markets they're considering, helping them with actually introducing potential buyers or sellers if they're looking for suppliers. You would appreciate in a constantly shifting world with supply chains, it's becoming very, very key as a value add and a key actually angle when we have client conversations. We're always leading with the growth conversation, and so this capability is very important. So that's what I do within the bank, and I'm very happy to be here. I look forward to the discussions.
Right. Now, obviously, it's very interesting that, the bank, again, has sponsored, Land-Linked Zambia 2026 edition. Are you able to just share with us what the thinking was and how your role actually, relates to you being part of the team that's at this event?
Yeah. So I think for us, it speaks truly to our purpose as the bank. We are in these markets, 21 of them, and really our purpose, we see it being very critical to driving growth and to being part of that story. And so the Land-Linked conference speaks directly to what, as I explained my role, to enable, the cross-border trade and the market access for businesses from small-sized business all the way to our mid-corporate business-sized businesses. And it's a very exciting story as we're seeing Africa's industrialization. And as the bank, we want to be very key in both what will enable, accelerate that. And so if you look at Land-Linked, it's looking particularly at transport and logistics, which is a very critical part of trade. Arguably, probably one of the biggest non-tariff barriers for regional trade or trading across the continent. So we see that as a very critical play for us. Our strategy as the group is the continent and really growing the continent and being key in the story of its industrialization. So conferences like this have the convening power not just to share the insights, but actually to bring the business together that can collaborate better. If we can start to touch on the right policy shifts that need to happen to enable more investment to flow where we need it, which is the key infrastructure that enables. So transport, a lot of Africa's trade is transported by road, 80% of it, which is a very costly way of transporting your goods. We need the policy shifts that enable investment so that we can start to see investment in the other forms of transport, such as rail, which is a very key part of not just bringing efficiencies to your trade and therefore accelerating the economy, but also it opens up a lot more of the other sectors that can tap into what rail would enable. So I think the way that Zambia is linked to southern, east and central Africa is a very, very critical one. And so for us, we want to see some of that come in. We want to see where the opportunities of industries that would be sort of abutting this accelerated growth. We're seeing the commodity boom, but I think it's a good opportunity to look at what other industries could supplement that. So that is what we really get excited about at the bank. And we want to make sure that we're part of that story.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, Financial Insight understands that, you'll be on one of the panels on day one. Are you able to just share with us, what some of the key questions that you're going to be addressing and how they obviously relate to, your role at the bank?
Yeah. So I'm going to be in a very interesting panel where it's not just going to be the opportunities, but it's actually going to be looking at the barriers. How do we unlock those barriers?
Right.
You have the African Continental Free Trade Area, which has a very ambitious task and has had some progress in terms of that implementation. But how can you truly unlock the speed at which that could be implemented across the countries that are participants? And the barriers is really where we know that things are getting stuck and we're not seeing that acceleration that we should. So that will be part of what I'll be discussing. Also around infrastructure investment on the continent, which I touched on a bit now, around how we look at broadly the infrastructure required to accelerate the growth of the region. And interestingly, there's very bold targets globally for copper mining, copper production, with other critical minerals being discovered that are becoming relevant for things like such as electric vehicles, cell phones, and other technologies. And so, with the increase in sort of what is referred to as new energy vehicles, it is becoming a very, very sought after commodity. And I mean, we've seen the jump in the copper price moving from $7,200 to $9,000. And we expect it to continue. There's an ambitious target set by the president of Zambia to get to 3 million from 890,000 ton in 2025. So when you look at this growth, which is very ambitious targets, it has to come with investment in the infrastructure that would accelerate, bring about efficiencies so that can actually be achievable. And so our panel is going to be looking at that, delving into that, and really what are some of the mechanisms from a policy, from a financing and investment, and therefore the most important piece, which is the businesses that are enabling this growth. So that's what our panel is going to be about. I look forward to that discussion.
Absolutely, absolutely. And maybe on a final note, usually I always ask my guests, what would success look like in participating in this event?
Absolutely. So one of the things that we really love at the Standard Bank Group or at Stanbic is whenever we take part in a conference or a platform or convening event, is that next year when we come back, as part of this opening remarks, I'm going to challenge Chimwemwe that we would like to play back some successes that came out of this year's engagement and initiatives that may have kicked off from this, deals that were done out of this, and so that next year when we start this, we reflect on where we are in 2027, but we play back some successes. That's the first thing that I think for me will be true success. And that brings me back then where we are today, that truly today, having those conversations that will take us from a conversation to actually practical, implementable, whether it's collaboration or project that comes out of this and the deliberations we'll be having.
Absolutely. No, thank you so much, for speaking to us, and all the best in your panel discussion.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. So you've heard it for yourselves. We've been speaking to one of the team members that is at Land-Linked 2026. So stay tuned as we continue to cover Stanbic Bank Zambia, who are one of the lead sponsors of this particular conference.